I heard about a man one time that was driving down the highway on his way to work, and as he was going, he noticed on the side of the road a small crew of men working, and as he was driving, he observed that one of these men was feverishly digging holes. And then he moved down a little ways, and the next man came along and quickly filled up that hole. Well, that really caught the man's attention, and so he stopped and he pulled alongside the road to watch these two men work for a while. And sure enough, that's exactly what he was seeing. One man was feverishly digging, and then he'd go down 10 or 12 feet or so and start digging again, while the other man came right along behind him and filled up the hole. Well, the guy couldn't believe what he was seeing. He got out of his car and he leaned against his car for maybe 15 or 20 minutes and watched this activity. Finally, he was so curious, he walked over to where these men were digging, and he noticed that the first man was digging holes maybe about a foot to 18 inches deep and about a foot in diameter, and then about 10 or 12 feet apart. The second man was coming along and filling up those holes. So finally, the curiosity got the best of him, and he stopped these two men. He said, excuse me. He said, I have been watching you for quite some time now, and would you please explain to me what you're doing? Well, the first man, leaning on a shovel, looked at him and he said, well, I'm digging holes 18 inches deep and about a foot in diameter and 10 feet apart. And the second man quickly said, I'm filling them up. The guy said, oh, okay, let me understand this. You're digging holes 18 inches deep, a foot in diameter, 10 feet apart, and I'm filling them up. Okay. And the first man said, you know what? I think I know why you're confused. He said, normally, this is a three-man crew, but Leroy called in sick this morning, and he's the one that comes after me and plants the trees. Do you know that I would personally hate if at the end of a project or at the end of a day or at the end of a week, or I certainly would hate if at the end of my life I turned and looked back and all I had was a drainage ditch where I'd been digging holes and someone else had been coming along and filling them up. I had no greenery, no vegetation, no foliage, no fruitfulness. I must admit, I would hate it if at the end of some project, the end of a day, the end of a week, the end of my life, if I look back and there was no fruitfulness in my life. Here's the way Jesus said it in John chapter 15. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit. So shall you be my disciples. Oh, listen. Don't call in sick and miss the fruitfulness of your life in Jesus Christ.